coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing, because they refused to love the truth and so be saved.
In this episode of Satan's Little Season Nuggets, we're going to look at how Christ-hating devils like Sasha Stone and Scott McKay are talking about the same thing. They're not saying it's the kingdom of Christ. No, but they're all talking about Tartaria and how awesome it was, and showing you the buildings, the same exact photos that all these other guys are using, the same pictures. So I'm just going to let this play. You can see how they're all using the same exact photos and stuff. I know this won't really mean anything to the Little Season people, but if you're still wondering if this is a good idea, I thought this might be helpful. And I will probably be adding this to a longer video with other examples similar, but I just found this one. Also, I'm probably going to add a few links below at some point for some debunking Tartaria, if anyone's interested.
The fall of Great Tartaria. The Kazarian Mafia won. They overthrew the Great Tartarian Empire. The Kazarians now reign supreme. If you want to know who's behind the Federal Reserve, the US Treasury Department, the Crown of England, the Crowns of Europe, the Vatican conspiracy, the Sabbateans, it's the Kazarian Mafia. It's a long story, I can't go into it here. But Wall Street, District of Columbia, the Crown of England, principally, and the Vatican are the essential tenets and pillars of the latter-day Kazarian Empire. We took down the Golden Age, we took down the noble kings, the hereditary leaders, the great glorious past where we had mastered free energy, we were activating psionic intelligence, we were on the cusp of a great enlightenment, and it was taken down. The serpent was allowed to come in one last time. Vladimir Putin, 2013, he resurrected ancient Tartaria by releasing the original maps. That threw a spanner in the works. That's partly why he's so hated by the Kazarian Mafia, why they want him dead, why they're demonizing him, why they're trying to get a backdoor to Russia through the Ukraine with NATO military bases, why they're declaring war against this man. He didn't declare war against anyone. He didn't invade anything. That's all a lie. Old world versus new world. Why would they leave just that one shitty red brick building up and take down all the stunning architecture? That's a classic example. And to the right, that's just the top of that building. Trust me, friends, that goes hundreds and hundreds of feet underground. Okay, that's been obscured. Top left-hand corner, 1900, that was Paris. That was the skyline of Paris on the river. Today, look at it, 2017, just the Eiffel Tower, which is not what you think it is, incidentally, friends. They took down all of that exquisite ancient Tartarian architecture. Why? Because on the top of all of those buildings were dielectric antennas, attuned to harmonizing frequencies, radiant etheric transmission of life force, maintaining peace and harmony, equilibrium, health and wellness amongst living systems all around the built environment. That's what was being taken down. Ancient Tartaria, engineering feats which we could not even manage today. And all around the world, in nations, every single culture, every single nation on earth has got these secrets. We're not talking about them. Why not? Why is the National Geographic and Discovery Channel and the curricula in our schools not teaching children about this glorious golden age, the past? Because it's been erased. It has been detonated and demolished over the last century. We mastered free energy technology. We mastered etheric transmission of cold electricity centuries ago, friends. We were powering up the planet centuries ago, thousands of years ago on this technology, very advanced technologies. In the last couple of hundred years, connected to the 9 gates of hell, subsequent to 1452 in Henan, Mexico, with a papal flag, and began the downgrading through mass genocide, we fell into a great state of forgetfulness. The fall of man, really? How about the genetic intervention and systemic downgrading of man? Giants were amongst us as recently as 150 years ago, 120 years ago. They were very prevalent all around the world. All cultures speak to them and remember them. We found femur bones of creatures 30 feet high, skulls, many photographs survive showing giants. End of the 1800s, the early 1900s. They were still genetically amongst us. Then they've been bred out of existence, okay? Bred out of existence. There are thousands and thousands of images of them still that survive. All cultures, all faiths. Why are we not learning about this? Ancient Tartaria, the last remnants of the Great Golden Age, which were destroyed between the Napoleonic Wars and the end of the Second World War. We all but destroyed probably 95+% of all the forensic evidences, because the Sabbateans, the invisible masters, knew full well that if we woke up to the genesis, the true story of who we are, what we are, how majestic we are, all of these, we were told, were part of the great exhibitions that occurred in Chicago and London and Paris and Rome, all around the world, in cities last century. And we're told that they were just built in a few weeks, erected as a great exhibition and then taken down after the exhibition. No, the exhibitions were set up around these massive monuments and architectural wonders, and then they were destroyed. The world wars came in, and the fog of war destroyed them. It was an erasure, an erasing of our history of the Golden Age that happened before we had internet, before we could actually communicate across the divides. So all of these extraordinary feats of architecture were nothing to do with great exhibitions, friends. That was a calculated lie, just like it's a calculated lie. Why do we have these still remaining all around the world, giant doorways? They were because giants used to enter these portals. They lived amongst us, worked amongst us.
So in the New Age version, it's giants instead of angels. They just took this old conspiracy theory and slapped some Christian words on it.
All ancient cultures speak to it. Many wood carvings, etchings, petroglyphs, even oil paintings still attest to the fact that 150, 200, 300 years ago, they were living amongst us as normal. What happened to these books? Why are they not being taken around the world as part of expositions and extraordinary? Yeah, exactly right. These archives, they were all stolen, sequestered into the British Museum, the Smithsonian Institute, Smithsonian Museum, and the Vatican Library sequestered all of these evidences. They come from all cultures. These are just 2 photographs. The archaeological evidences of giants, massive giants, some of them much higher than just 30 meters high, living amongst us in all cultures. Again, classic example of the deconstruction of our reality. This station in Pennsylvania, we're told, was built in 1910. We are told it was destroyed 54 years later. Only 44 years later. The main reason we're told was the destruction was the difficulty with the upkeep and cleaning. And we believe that. No, this was a takedown of ancient Tartaria in Pennsylvania. Okay? That was maybe thousands of years old, that extraordinary complex. The trees, forensic evidence that many of the so-called mountain ranges on Earth were, in ancient Jurassic times, were forests, were trees, when the oxygen was very different, when the atmosphere was very different, when this Earth plane was very different. It looks like some alien technology would have come down and harvested all those trees. Go back to some of these most extraordinary archaeological finds. In Saudi Arabia, on the right, that extraordinary rock, cut with precision with some kind of alien laser technology, possibly millions of years ago. Possibly that was just a doodle or graffiti by some very advanced technology. The point I'm making here is that these are anomalies we cannot work out today. We cannot possibly deduce how they managed to do it. We have no technology capable today to master this kind of craft. And it was commonplace by the ancients. These were buildings designed to last for tens of thousands of years, incidentally. The mud floods. Why are we discovering the buildings go hundreds of feet underneath what we're led to believe they are? Well, some photographs have emerged showing the mud flooding, showing how we've orchestrated cityscapes in the last 150 odd years, principally. St. Basil's in Moscow. This is probably one of the greatest testaments to ancient Tartaria. You want to see what it really looks like? Look to the right. As opposed to what's left peeking above the surface. Flicked into our faces by the establishment as a little tantalizing enigma. Look to your local municipal buildings and banks. Look to the buildings around you, friends. They're not oftentimes what you think they are. They are the last remaining effigies, the last remaining standards of a golden age, in many cases. Not all, in many cases. What lies beneath? That's the question. That's what Revelation, friends, is all about. Revelation is called Revelation for a reason. The good book teaches us for a reason. Star forts, why are they being discovered all around the earth? Tens of thousands of them, all around the face of the earth. I can tell you why. It's because of drone technology. All of a sudden, everyone has a drone. We can now see what our neighborhood looks like. We had no idea for hundreds and hundreds of years. The star forts were ancient dielectric paramagnetic power systems, just like the pyramids, which were harmonizing frequencies in the ethers, balancing, creating equilibrium, harnessing the paramagnetic forces and telluric forces of the inner earth and the dielectric forces of the universe, catalyzing them into harmonizing frequencies and beaming those out on the lateral plane to uplift our DNA, uplift our consciousness, okay? All around the earth. That's connected to cymatics, the language of the alpha and the omega. This is what's written into the source code of nature. Every single thing that's a living system is predicated on these divine harmonics. The civilizational battery, what you think is a little monument left in your town square as a folly, it's not that at all. Oftentimes it's an ancient technology, a dielectric harmonizing technology. That's Barcelona on the left, the cityscape of Barcelona. It's a battery system for life force. Ancient civilizations in Africa, Central South America, Southeast Asia, all predicated on the same principles of knowing how to harness the universal forces into an intelligent way and make use of them as a living system, as a living utility. But no, in the last century, we took them all down, destroyed them all down, and threw everyone into enslavement and debt, reliant on petrol and the combustion of oil and gas, okay, and nuclear, and all these other false light technologies, which create servitude, enslavement, corrupting the environment, bringing about catastrophic failure of our cellular systems, our atomic system.
Run.
There's just one name that can keep you out of hell, and it's the name of Jesus. Name of Jesus. Name of Jesus.